Everton celebrate. Rodri can't believe he didn't score. Frank Lampard pats Pep Guardiola on the back. Everton could easily have conceded with the last touch of the game, but somehow Rodri put it wide. Ironically, Rodri scored the winning goal at the Emirates on the first day of the year, New Year's Day, in the last seconds of it. He almost won the game for City there, but Andy, you can make a case that Everton deserved their point today.
Yeah, I think so. They've made it very an unpleasant viewing. They've come with a game plan. They've upset. They've stopped the play. They've stayed down at every opportunity, but they've had to try and find a way to get a point. You know, they're in a desperate situation, and I've got to give them great credit for what they've done today. The goal they've got, as you said, their only shot on target. It's an incredible finish into the far corner, and if City are not at their best, they've got to understand that teams will come here and take points. They've got to be better than that in the second half. There's got to be more urgency, and there's got to be moving the ball a lot quicker than what they actually did. Well done, Everton.
So it's not the way that we wanted 2022 to conclude. City taking the lead through Erling Haaland, and inevitability about that. But the Blues didn't really craft a whole stack of chances, and although Everton didn't fashion any of their own, Damarai Gray has scored an absolute worldie against a run of play. And once that equaliser went in, City had one or two scares, but never really looked like they were going to take the lead. And so the final game of 2022 ends in a draw. It's City 1, Everton 1. Well, let's go back to the studio where we can join Cal.
Good evening, welcome back to Matchday Live. Full time at the Etihad Stadium in our 3 o'clock kickoff against Everton, and it is finished all square. Manchester City 1, Everton 1. An important point for Everton, but possibly 2 points dropped for Manchester City in this ever tight title race, although maybe Arsenal might pull ahead playing Brighton a little bit later on at 5:30. David, it's a funny one to kind of try and reflect on, really. What is your assessment of the game as a whole?
Overall, as I say, first half I wasn't surprised. I mean, I've seen it enough times with City where they're not 4-0 up. It was kind of in control. Obviously the one goal ahead. But the second half, when we talk about Haaland's excellence, and we saw that with the goal, you know, give him the ball, he'll score. Or give you a good chance of scoring. Second half, don't think he had a shot, did he? The supply chain wasn't there for him. Yeah. One mistake, Rodri gets caught in possession, and then when Damarai Gray, I mean, the thing about Damarai Gray goal is, first of all, he gets a turnover, and secondly, he slips before he has a chance to shoot, and no one's in a position to stop him. Yeah. And then he produces the best shot that he could, which gave Edison absolutely no chance whatsoever. So, in the end, I mean, I think they said in commentary, 1-1 for the performance was a fair result. Yes. But as you said, that's 2 points dropped.
Massive 2 points dropped, especially at home, Shaun. And you mentioned there, David, you were right. I don't think we had was it 2 shots on target in the end? So that was clearly part of the problem. The supply chain to fashion the chances. Where do you think City kind of went wrong a little bit today? How come we weren't at our free flow?
I think Andy Morrison and Alistair Mann was spot on. I think it was all around the tempo. And it's easy for us to sit and just say tempo because we see City at such high levels. But today we're looking and saying that they're off it. They're slightly off that level of the tempo. And we forget that, they play Liverpool, they play Leeds, probably 2 of the most difficult games, and you think, well, okay, we do have this squad to mix up and bring in fresh players, and that's the only thing I could think on why we didn't really have that real change of tempo until the last 10 minutes of the game. 10 minutes of the game we're really starting to push. So I think in reflection we'll look back and we'll say, why didn't we have that tempo 30 minutes in the game left, and really start to push, because I kept waiting for the button to go right. We're now up the gear, and we didn't until again the last 10 minutes. And it sounds like I'm making excuses because I'm really sick. I'm disappointed because I thought that would have been the plan. Get at Everton early on. We get it at Everton. Them conceding a goal, they'll become a bit frail, and we'll probably go on to score 2, 3, etc. We never really got into into that tempo, and I think that will be the reflection that Pep will probably say we never went up to next level.
Yeah, and so where we lacked at that tempo, which then of course I think invited Everton into that game that little bit more, particularly in the second half. For their goal, their equaliser, as you said, and for people at home, I thought Akanji does well initially to get across to him, but then how does Damarai Gray fashion that chance? And is it one of them that it's kind of unstoppable, really?
The shot's unstoppable.
Yeah. The shot's unstoppable.
However, the shot shouldn't have been as easy or as comfortable for Damarai Gray, because you say Akanji comes back, I'm not sure if it's John Stones also runs back. He does a nice little bit of footwork to send Kanji
It's an overlap, the overlap run.
Yeah, but he does a little dummy.
Yes, yeah.
Then slips over and then has an opportunity to have a free shot just inside the box.
Yeah.
They're the sort of things that happen in training sessions where you go, that will never happen in a game. So no one was close enough to him, so when he slipped, they can make the tackle. But as I say, the ball broke down with Rodri to begin with. And the one thing I say about tempo, if you haven't got the confidence to make those quick passes, which will encourage the tempo, then you'll have to slow the game down to be more deliberate.
Yeah.
And I just found that KDB, and Alice said it, I mean, we love the guy, but it wasn't his best game today. Rodri wasn't on it today. And even Jack Grealish, for the majority of the game, or that he was on the field, wasn't at it. So Haaland, who's waiting for supply, isn't getting it from the key players.
Yes.
And in the end, it's just 10 minutes to go. Everton are happier with a 1-1 than Man City.
Yeah.
You're going to expect Man City to be piling on the pressure, but Jordan Pickford isn't being forced into safe. So
you can't ask. You need to ask more, or don't you, of the keeper?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of those goals conceded, Shaun, and listen, you know me, I'm always sometimes clutching at straws. But since coming back, I look at the Liverpool game. We were dominating. Got the first goal, Liverpool score with their first shot on target. We get the second one, they go and score again with the second shot on target.
Yeah.
We come here today, all right, we didn't have the shots, but we dominated. They score with the first shot on target. Do we have to maybe look and go, do we need to start solidifying again at the back? Because that kind of left our game, I felt, for a while. But it seems, is it creeping back in slightly? Do you think it's a fair question?
I mean, it's a fair question. Is it creeping in? I think the fact that it, you're thinking about it. Some fans are thinking about it. Pep will be thinking about it, and he'll just be, listen. We need to sniff this out and make sure that we get back to being solid, not conceding goals. And I'm looking at our defense and I'm thinking, we've got quality players. These players perform really well. And I sit and I go, well, I don't think they play badly. We just never really done it in the final third.
Yes.
We never really done it in the final third in terms of, and it becomes, we know what Kevin can do. But if Kevin isn't at his normal self and he just drops to a 6.5 performance, and then we're saying, well, okay, who else? And I think today we just didn't have the others that normally chip in. That normally chip in with the assister or the odd goal, and it just came to today's game. I have to say, from Everton's point of view, they managed the game really well. It became a stop-start, and it was so much frustration because you're thinking a player goes down, he's not really injured, he's game management, he's just trying to run the clock down, and it became more and more frustration for us. And then what happens is we're then trying to force things. Because we're getting a little bit more desperate to get that winning goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of bringing me to my second question. You've answered it there, but how much of it was City weren't at the races today, and actually that Liverpool's game plan came and worked, and you have to give credit again to Frank and the boys, because they're fighting.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I mean, I suppose in the context of the Premier League, depending on what happens tonight with Arsenal. I mean, the good thing is that Newcastle drew as well. So another challenger.
Yes.
Even forget it, it's a two-horse race. There are other teams involved.
Yeah, agreed.
So Newcastle have dropped points as well against Leeds, who City obviously beat. So the issue could go back to the Haaland debate. That Haaland got one free moment today where he scores a goal. And I still think Everton should have defended better, and he possibly shouldn't have scored. But Tarkowski and Cody have kept Haaland out of the game.
Second half.
Basically, it wasn't just chuck the ball in, Haaland will get it. It didn't happen. And the worrying thing is, when Haaland's taken out of the game, who else is going to score?
Yes.
Rodri's picking the ball up on the edge of the box and people are shouting and screaming. Maybe at half-time they saw the goal of the year contest.
Yeah, possibly.
But I mean, joking aside, it's one of these things, it's kind of like if you put all your eggs in one basket and that egg isn't producing what needs to win the game. Scoring a goal is one thing, but winning the game is what was needed today.
Yeah.
As I say, KDB wasn't at his best. Rodri wasn't at his best, and all of a sudden you end up great game plan by Everton. But they were probably sitting there going, "We're still in this at 1-0 at half time."
Yes.
And then when they score, they're like, "Wow, hang on, just don't lose."
I guess there's a little hope off that, Shaun, then, because you are right. We can't just have that one way to win a game. That maybe we have to pull stuff out we were doing last season, where we won the league without a striker, basically.
Yeah. When I look at today's game, it's just odd from the point that we talk about De Bruyne not being at his top level, and I look at Mahrez, didn't play bad but didn't play great. Do you know what I mean? So again, we're hovering around that 6.5 in terms 6.5, 7. That's where we are, and when we're really at it, these guys are the 8s and the 9s, and it will be Mahrez that chips up with the goal, or Foden comes on and gets the goal, or Gundogan comes on and gets the goal. The second half, I'm thinking, where's Erling? There's no space for him. There's just so many bodies. There's no space for him. So it becomes more desperate. De Bruyne is trying to cross balls. He's got no chance of getting. There's 2 in front of him, two in back of him. One is left, one is right. He hasn't got inches. I just felt as a team, there wasn't one player I went, he's a 9 today in the final third. This player is the player that will get. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. And I think that's a lot down to how they managed it with the stop-starts.
Yes, yeah.
Gundogan couldn't come on, and I thought it's been on 5 minutes, and I ain't seen him do anything.
Yeah,
because it's stop-start. So a lot of it also is credit to them and how they managed it.
Agreed. It was a massive part of the game. I mean, for those who watched it, if you didn't, there was a lot of players going down, a lot of hold-up play. But as you say, they knew what doing part of the game plan. I guess the positive, David, to find one is, if you're not going to win the game, it's cliche, make sure you don't lose it. And it was, at least it's not 3 points dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so funny when you just look at the result. And yes, 2 points dropped because this is a game that City should have won. But when you look at the goal that they scored, take away all the turnovers, it's an unstoppable shot.
Yeah.
And you look at it and go, what do we do? Even conceding against Leeds. So same thing happened in Leeds in a sense from the corner. Edison lets a goal in that he can't save.
Yes, yeah.
And you look at it and go, well, there's a free opportunity. And you asked the question to Shaun earlier about what does Pep do? It's difficult to legislate for Damarai Gray bending one into the top corner.
Worldy.
I mean, don't let him have a shot, arguably, but it's kind of the positive. The rest of the game is controlled. Edison hasn't been forced into loads of saves where City were left open. And credit has to go to Everton for the defending, and in particular, as I say, Cody and Tarkowski in the middle there, because they've basically kept Haaland at bay. Yeah. I do question quickly whether the bookings in the first half influence the second half performance.
It's a great point as well.
As I said to you about calming down, it's kind of like be careful you don't get sent off. Yeah. Well, you take a little bit out of the nature of the players who have been booked.
Yeah, we're talking about positives. Rico Lewis, I thought.
Oh, awesome!
I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Agreed.
And I think it was just one of those. The reason he's come off is I need to do something. Pep's thinking I need to do something. I need to change something. You're not playing bad. I just need something in the final third. But I thought his understanding of when to go inside, when to be outside, receiving the ball in little pockets, using his body to protect the ball, really intelligent. I tell you what, some really good competition in their position.
Yeah, really. I mean, you're saying about his Cancelo coming into the squad. Can you see Kyle Walker coming into the squad? Because as you say, it was a colossal performance again from young Rico Lewis. Gents, as we know now, the games are coming thick and fast now. We're underway. And Matchday Live will be with you there every step of the way. We have a double whammy of Chelsea to come. We play them Thursday in the Premier League, 8 o'clock kickoff, Match of the Day live from 7, and then again in the FA Cup. And then you look ahead, there's a derby in the offering, there's a Spurs game as well in there. So lots of games to come. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of movement within the league. But what does City do now if we turn our attention to the next game on Thursday, David? Have you seen changes?
I'm sure there'll be some changes. I think what's good about Chelsea sounds bad after the game now. Good against Chelsea compared to Everton is Chelsea need to win.
Yes.
Everton need to not lose, and that's almost a win in itself for them. With Chelsea and Graham Potter's team, any chances they've got of going into the Champions League, they need to beat City. So you wouldn't get the park in a bus rolling over on the floor and running the clock down which we've seen today.
Yeah.
Which in a sense makes it somehow easier for City. I think, to go, we can do something now because you're going to be doing what we're trying to do, which is win the game.
Not lose it. Exactly. It does play into City's hands. And I guess the other thing we know, if there's one thing about Manchester City and this Pep team, is they react very, very well. And we know for them players that will feel like a loss. It's not. It's a draw. It's 1 point. But we know that their bounce back ability is a force to be held.
Yeah, I mean, when City's typically lost a game, today it feels lost a game. Today we've drawn, but it feels like a loss. We know that this team is capable of just going on for 15, 18 games, consecutive wins. So I feel for the teams that we've got to face. I think we're going to come out fresh. I think Pep will look at it, and I think it'll be energy and it'll be non-stop.
Yeah.
There is one other thing as well. With Arsenal to play twice.
Yes.
The point is big. Because you lose a game, obviously, when it was unlikely we're going to lose today. But that 4-point gap would have been massive, whereas 3 points, it makes the head-to-head nice and juicy.
Yeah, nice and juicy. I think February, that fixture is coming. Well, listen, gents, a pleasure as always. And what a way to finish the year alongside Shaun and David James. We just want to say, on behalf of Manchester City, a massive thank you to all the support we received throughout the year, whether that's in the stadium, you guys around the world joining us in the show. You really are the best. And for myself, I've loved absolutely every second of this job. It is a job of dreams, and getting to share it with you is the best. So thank you all for watching. Thanks to everyone who works on the show, and we want to wish you all the best and a very happy new year for 2023. We go again. We do indeed. Happy New Year, everyone. Good night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.